Hey guys, it's my 56 Lincoln Capri. Told you I'd make a video on how to replace the window motors with a different motor. I've already done the passenger front door and it works really good. I'm really happy with it. I have the passenger rear door mounted. I still have to, sorry, I live on a busy road, so it might be a headache of pausing it every few seconds, but these are the motors you're going to use. The part numbers I found are XD63100. It's a decent sized motor, I guess, a little bit shorter than a Coke can. But the key specs of it is the 150 watt, 12 volt, and 3000 RPM. The shaft on it is 5/16 or 8 millimeter. Not super crazy about how thin the studs are, but they seem to hold up just fine. It's just a 2-wire motor, so it's a reverse polarity. It goes up one way, reverse the contacts goes back down the other way, which poses an issue with the wiring of the car, but I'll show you how to get by that with a dual relay setup. If you're here, that means you've probably pulled out your old motor, which this is one of my old motors, and it's seized up solid. If you can, let's see here, focus. You can see the studs and the motor shaft in relation to them. Keep that in mind because we do have to cut the new motor when we put it in. The shaft on this motor obviously goes way past the studs, so there's quite, with the length of the studs and everything, there's quite a bit of give, so it's not a super accurate measurement, but you're going to end up cutting this end of the shaft off. And then you do also, once you cut the shaft off, need to grind down the flat just a little bit more to fit in the coupler. So I'll show you that when we get to that point as well. I already put my passenger door back together, or I would show you, but on the front door, so this is a new motor already mounted in there, and as you can see, it mounts right in the factory brackets, uses the factory collar. So I mean, basically from the shaft down, everything, that's the only little bit of fabrication you have to do is just bending out the studs, and it works just fine. But what I was going to tell you, on the passenger front door, there's no access hole here to get to those nuts, to get the old motor out and get the new motor mounted. So what I ended up doing is right about here on the front door, I just took a hole saw and cut about a 1.5 inch hole just for access. I mean, if you got little hands or whatever that can get in there, cool, you won't need to do that, but it makes it so much easier to just cut the hole and be able to do it. And trust me, the door's plenty, this metal's super thick, it's plenty strong to hold everything together in that. So I still got to do the driver rear door. That still hasn't been touched. Let's see here. I've gotten sort of started over here. I mean, the first thing you're going to do is unscrew your the lock-unlock. Focus here, come on. Yeah, there you go. The lock-unlock knob, that just unscrews normal threads on that. Next, you're going to, I guess you could pop off if you wanted to. There's a Phillips head there, a Phillips head down here, and then this black piece pops off of the door itself. It's separate from the door trim, if you've never done this. I don't think this one's in the right position. I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be at about a 1 or 2 o'clock. But the handle itself is your old school horseshoe clip type. So I used a pick to get in there and just pull this horseshoe clip down right there. Be careful it doesn't fly into oblivion, because they do that. And I tried, they made this one so you can't use the rag trick. Sometimes you can, if the ears were sticking out, but this one, they're kind of tucked behind that chamfer there, so it doesn't really work too good trying that way. So I found the pick, and just remember that access to the horseshoe is right at 6 o'clock if you're looking at the back side of the handle itself. So I will get that off, and then I'll show you. There's a few trim clips behind here. There's another Phillips head down there, Phillips head down there, and we'll have some wiring to get rid of also. So when we get to that point, I'll show you. Alright, first thing you got to do, and I got a different setup here because this thing's been motor swapped. It was all done before I got it. The engine, the original 368, was long gone. But I installed this thing here. It's a 200 amp circuit breaker, and all my power coming from my battery goes through this. So I press this button here, and that completely opens my battery power to the rest of the car. So before you start this job, make sure you disconnect your battery on the inside of the car, or unless you have something like this. But it's kind of a neat little setup. Just if it had a 200 amp surge or whatever, it would pop this breaker and, you know, hopefully not catch fire. I just have an issue with old car electrical systems and, you know, fire risk, I guess. But you just push this closed and that'll re-energize the whole car. So just make sure before you start the job, disconnect the battery. Negative at least. Negative cable is plenty. Okay, so I got, you know, again, this is super easy. 2 Phillips heads right there, the lock button, and then this just lifts off like that. I mean, obviously I just took mine off, so it might be stuck a little bit on there. But I mean, it's just the lip of the trim that holds it over these clips here on the actual door. So that leaves us with the rest of the door trim to get. Okay, just a tip here too. You got to get in between the scutcheon, I think they call it, and the actual handle itself to get your pick in there. I made these trim tools out of the PVC pipe. They work real good. If not, just like a plastic wedge or something that's not going to ruin the door trim, just to get in there and try to, you know, because I got a little pick tool, and I'm going to try to reach in and pick that horseshoe, pull it out far enough to, you know, get the handle off. But you don't need to sit here and hear me cuss over it, so hold on. Now another tip, so I have the horseshoe clip out, but this thing still won't come off. So I mean, this is probably the most frustrating part of the job, is getting these handles and the door trim off. Also forgot to tell you, there is a screw in the grab handle as well that's got to come out. Also, I failed to mention there's a screw here as well, right there on the back side. Okay, as I'm peeling the door back, I also noticed there is a spring on the door handle, so make sure that that just comes off, but make sure it goes back on when you're reassembling. Again, this whole job, the door panels to me seem like the biggest pain in the rear than the actual changeover of the job itself. What I'm using for these clips, because they're rusty and not really popping out real easy, I'm using this tool here, which I think is a Harbor Freight special, along with a big screwdriver behind it to help force it out, because this metal's too thin. Okay, so door panel's off. I'll pause right here. Again, that's the top. This is the rear. So green wire top left, red wire small top right, yellow wire bottom right, and then the fat wire that's bolted on is on the bottom left. The clips, as you can see, they get torn up pretty good. I don't know exactly how this is gonna go back on. Also, these clips at the bottom, they sit in the ledge. I'll show you in a second on the door. But hopefully I can bend these clips back. I mean, I gotta redo the interior. This whole car is a project, so this is all gonna have to be redone. But those clips, they sit in the lip along the bottom. You got a vapor barrier here that's on the wires. There's another vapor barrier in the door. I think that's attached to the regulator, because that seemed on the other doors to go up and down with the door. But you know, you just got holes along the door where those clips go in. So we'll see what we can come up with. There's your door lever mechanism, your unlock lock setup as well. So I'll okay, this is cool. This has the access panel also, so that's still let me turn the light on here. That's the original motor. Those are little 3/8 nuts that sit on top. Then you have your connector, a collar, I guess you call it. It's like a hard rubber piece that has a D fittings. I'll show you when I get it out, but that might be tomorrow. It's getting a little late tonight. All right, we're back at it next day. So you have this harness coming out, which goes up to the window switch, and there's a little clip there, and I just popped that out, and I'm gonna pull it through and get it out of the way while we try to get this motor out. So yeah, just pull it out the back side here, and makes it somewhat easier. Like it's all these little tedious things that makes this job, I mean, it's not really difficult, but a little more cumbersome. Alright, so I almost got the second nut off there. And as you can see, the motor just drops out the bottom. Sorry, I don't have good camera equipment or anything. I'm just doing this with my phone, so trying to film it and hold the camera and all that isn't going to work. But if you're mechanically inclined, you'll understand what's going on. Alright, so second nut's off. Motor just drops out the bottom. Yeah, just drops out the bottom, and then you just slide it out. This is the collar I'm talking about. So this is the very convenient fact that part that Lincoln put in there that makes this job somewhat easy. So you have a D fitting, I guess you'd say, on one side. That side's the 5/16 or 8mm side. This side here is a smaller side, and that goes up to the window regulator. So I'm going to get this motor out, and again, the motor should just pull right out the opening here. Oh, I didn't disconnect the wiring. The wires in there, they just pull apart the connectors, and they can be in there pretty good, so don't be afraid to you know, put some strength on it to pull them apart. But yeah, that's the motor wrapped in plastic. Also, once you get your motor out, you are going to want to make sure, what I do is I'll take that little collar piece, and I can't film it and do it at the same time, but I'm going to take this little piece, put it back up into the window regulator, and you should be able, maybe I'm lucky because I have a car from Texas, but you should be able to just spin this and have the window regulator move. I'm not sure. I'll tell you in a second whether it's clockwise or counterclockwise, because window's up at this point. Alright, so window motor's out. You got 4 wires that come off this motor, and this is why I told you we're going to have to use the dual relay setup because the car is wired for 4 wires instead of 2, and just reversing the polarity on it. But that's the old motor. And then the other wiring harness is just, it sits down here, which if I got enough, I'll probably pull that out into the opening over here to work with. Okay, so I got the collar back up in there with just my fingers in there, holding it onto it. If you spin it towards the front of the motor, front of the vehicle, you can see, maybe you can't see it because I can't hold it still, but the window starts to go down. You know, and you're only doing this just to make sure that your window regulator is working, that you're not going to put this motor in and burn up a motor or something. But again, this collar, it just slides up in there. There's nothing that, the only thing that holds this to the window regulator is pressure from the motor holding it up in there. And also something to keep track of also, on top of the motor bracket, you can see that one stayed in place. The other one fell off, so just make sure you hold on to those, because you're going to want to put those back on with the new motor. Alright, so here's just a quick comparison. And again, we got to cut the shaft off here. I'm just going to use a cutoff wheel. I have an electric one. I don't think you'd be able to use a Sawzall. You'll probably ruin the motor doing that. A cutoff wheel seems to be the best method of doing that. And then you can see the studs coming out. They're just a hair off. So I'll bend those real quick and show you what they look like after. So I just bent them by hand, and it's just a little bit. You don't need to go crazy, but just so that they're going to line back up with the existing brackets that are still on the vehicle. Now I'll get that motor cut now as well. Alright, so shaft's cut down, studs are bent out, and again you can see, like I say, I don't even bother measuring how much I'm cutting off as long as it's about flush with the end of those studs, because those studs are a lot longer than the original motor, so you have plenty of adjustment up and down. Now the last thing that we do need to do is, this motor does have a flat on it, and that flat is not wide enough for the collar to fit in. So right about here, we're just going to grind it down a little bit more, just to the point where it fits in that rubber collar that goes up to the regulator. So that's what I'm talking about. And again, maybe I would probably verify before you start grinding, but just verify that the collar either fits or doesn't fit, because like I say, this one does not. On the other 2 motors, I had to grind this down just a little bit, so I'm just going to get a little grinder, grind that down until it slips on. Alright, so got that piece ground down, and again, you just want to make sure you don't go too far, and make sure it's a nice snug fit on here. And as you can see, I'm pushing that down, and we still got enough. That's from the factory grind, so it's only like a 1/4 inch deep or so that you need to go. But you just want to make sure you don't go too far, because this is what is the holding piece that is going to spin the regulator. Alright, so at this point we got our collar back on the motor. Motor's bent. The studs are bent, I'm sorry. Now we just got to fit that up in through the bracket, and we got to make sure that the top D-fitting is fit into the window regulator itself. I'm going to try to take a picture of that so maybe you guys can see what the inside of the door looks like as well. Hold on. also another thing, if you don't already have some on hand, the motors don't come with washers, so you'll need a couple little washers to go over the top of these. Alright, so I got the motor in, nuts are tightened down, and I know you're going to think I'm a hack for doing this, but if you reach in and you kind of lift one side of the motor up, tighten that nut down with your finger, and then lift the other side of the motor up. See, I can still get in there a little bit, this one, and tighten it up. With the rubber bushings, the rubber collar and everything, it will create a nice tight fit. So, I mean, if you can't get a wrench in there, don't fear, because you can just do it that way. And as you can see, the rubber bushings are, cinched down, so there's definitely tension holding the motor up and holding it stable. Alright, so at this point, I like to just test everything I've done so far. And I just got a jump box here, and I'm going to just verify motors working, motors in place properly, and all that. So hook up my jump box and we'll watch the window go down. Okay. And as you can see, another reason I told you about that 3,000 RPM, that seemed like a good speed that the window came down. It's not too fast, not too slow. So in order to get the window back up, we're just gonna reverse the polarity, and we'll send it back up. All right, so next we need to get into the fun stuff with the wiring. And before I show you anything or whatnot, if you're not aware, if you have a Windows-based PC or laptop or anything Windows-based, if you go down to the search bar on the bottom, type in snipping tool should come up, and that's going to allow you to take a screenshot of your computer screen, because you might want to hold that with the wiring diagram I'm about to show you. A couple of them, actually. So here's the factory wiring diagram for your Windows switches and your motors. So I'll hold here for a minute, let you take your snipping tool, if capture if you wanted to. All right, and now this is the wiring that you're going to need to do with your dual relay setup. Okay, I'll hold here for a minute too, because you're going to want to save this. Alright, so what you do, I bought a set of relays on Amazon again. There's your part number, and you're going to want to wire them up just like this. Okay, and if let me open one of these up and show you. You look at the bottom of the relay, it's going to sit just like this. The pink connections all need to be connected to each other. So the center pin needs to be connected to this one, and then needs to be connected to that center pin, and needs to be connected to that one, which then in turn goes to B minus is battery ground. That's the way I write it. B positive is battery positive. So these two wires, as you see, they're joined from here to there, and then go to battery positive, your positive side, which you do have a in the door itself. So the two pins that are opposite, I guess you'd say, or standing by itself, these pins here, that goes to the motor, and this one goes to the motor. Now, I'm not savvy enough to tell you, once you install them, which one is going to go to what motor. You just, twist them together, test it to see if your polarity is correct, and if not, just swap the wires on the motor, because it's reverse polarity. So, and then you got these guys here, that goes to a switch either up or down, and this one goes either up or down. So I mean, in theory, you could switch either these two, or to me, it's just easier to switch the positive and negative to the motor. But that is your wiring diagram for the dual relay setup. Now, the way I did it, I taped them together. I got the little brackets come in the kit because those will be screwed into the door as well. And then as I, wired it up, I just labeled each wire so that it's easier to figure out. And then just remember, your two, sorry guys, I'm horrible at filming. Your two upright, these two go to the motor, either positive or negative. Again, you won't know that till you have it all hooked up. So we'll get back in the car and I'll try to show you what's what. Alright, so at this point, I just got my dual relay set up, just clamped on, because I don't know if that's going to, I'll probably actually, screw it in over here. The regulator doesn't come down far enough to hit that, so you don't have to worry about it. I have my door switch wired back up, and at this point, all the wires, I got them coming out the door. Unfortunately, on these rear doors, your wire loom comes right through that tube there on the door, so you don't have a whole lot to play with. But all of those connections, unless you wanted to find the female connector that goes into that, I'm just going to cut them off and put either probably butt or spade connectors on there. And then you got to cut off the connectors that come on the motor as well, because I'm just going to butt connect those up to the wires coming off of the relay assembly. I use butt connectors. I've been doing this a long time, and if you get decent quality butt connectors with the WeatherPack seal, the shrink wrap that seals around them, I've never had any issues. I mean, if you want to be the perfectionist and solder and shrink wrap all of them, feel free. I don't build show cars. I'm not a six-figure car builder. I get them going, I try to make everything work, and I usually drive them as is, as long as they're safe. So I'll cut those off. I will twist the motor output from the relay assembly to the motor, and then I'm just going to go through and verify what each wire does. At this point, I am going to hook up the battery again, so make sure before you do that, you have all your wires that are exposed with a potential power, just routed out of the way so that you don't blow any fuses or potentially cause a fire, which I highly doubt would happen. But yeah, just be safe when you're doing this. Alright, so getting started with the wiring. The two wires we know we can temporarily twist together are the ones for the motor feed, and again, those come off of the two standalone spade connectors. Like I said, I just got them wire twisted together. I'm going to use a multimeter down there, which you probably won't be able to see good because unfortunately, it's a sunny day here in New York, which we don't get too many of. I have the negative of the DVOM. I call it a DVOM. The multimeter is a DVOM to me. I don't know. Negative there, and then I have it set to continuity, and I'm just verifying the black wire which comes out of your door is your ground. So you can hear that beep, and you can see, looks like it's freaking out because the frame rate is the same as the camera on my phone. But that just goes to show we do have good continuity for the ground. Alright, so now I'm going to tell you what each wire's doing. But I highly recommend you verify checking this. So another very important caveat, if you're still running your original 368 engine and you have a points distributor, go ahead and disconnect your feed to the distributor so you don't burn up your points, because you need to do this with the key on. So right now I have a battery tender. It's probably the buzzing you hear in the background. I have a battery tender on the battery, and I have the ignition on. So again, if you got a points distributor, make sure you disconnect that so you don't kill your points. But I got my DVOM. Again, it sucks. You can't really see what's going on too good. So now I have it set to volts. Okay, so when I go through here, I'm trying to do this. Let's see if it'll read. Shoot. Stay in there. Well, all right. Well, I won't be able to really do this too well, but here's what I'm going to tell you. Your red wire is your up signal, okay? It's got two wires coming from it because it gets one from the main wire or window switch up in the driver's area, and the second one comes from the window switch here. Your yellow is your down, your green is your battery positive feed. Now when you test it, it won't show battery positive just with the key on. The key or the window switch has to be in the up or down position, but in both up and down you will be getting 12 volts positive out of this. Okay, 12 volt positive out of this. Yellow is 12 volts down, red is 12 volts up, and black is your ground. So I'll get those wired up, show you how I did it. And I mean, it's just connecting wires. It's nothing too spectacular. But when you do, another reason I tell you to check your voltages back here. If you're not aware of what voltage drop testing is, I highly recommend you, if you're going to do any amount of work on a car, old car, whatever, highly recommend you look up some videos on YouTube to learn how to do that. You're basically checking to see if the voltage at your battery, how much voltage is lost once it gets back here, for instance, back here to the door. So like if you had, with a battery tender on it, you're reading 13.5 volts up at the battery, but you come back here, you only have like 8 volts. You have an issue. Like your wires are corroded somewhere, you got bad grounds, and that's something that you're going to want to address before you get into this project. But I mean, you can use voltage drop testing for anything on a vehicle. It is the gold standard for automotive testing as far as wiring goes. So just a little bit of a device there for you. I'm gonna cut these wires apart but connect them up to the relay assembly. Again, it looks all complicated, but if you labeled your wires and stuff, we know this one's going to ground. That's tied up to the motor. The switch, we got a couple going to the switch, and again, we just got to twist together temporarily because we know both of those are going to the switch. So one of them is going to go to the red, one of them is going to go to the green, and we just got to verify, which one is which for that purpose. So hold on, and I'll get back with you. Alright, so I probably shouldn't even film this part because you're going to judge me. But here's what we got going on, alright? I got B-. I just have a jumper wire running over to the black ground, okay? Motor, and then over here, yellow to switch, red to switch, green to battery positive, okay? And now, alright, so I have it reversed. So when I operate my switch, if I'm going up, I'm going down. So that's simple. All I'm going to do is switch the motor feeds. But as you can see, this setup, it works great. Goes up and down, no problem. As I told you before, the regulator doesn't hit the relays and the window's already all the way down. So I'll reverse those wires, I'll clean it up, get everything connected, and then I tape up the harness and set it in there. Then I will drill the relay assembly, and like I say, I'll probably put it right here just so it's a tighter, don't have as much wire flopping around. I mean, and that's basically it. So it's more of a tedious job than a hard job per se. But I'll get it all buttoned up and show you when I'm done. Okay, got it all wired up, mounted. At this point, you're going to want to disconnect your battery again, because you need to feed this harness for the door switch back through there, and you don't want to arc out on anything if you by chance left your power on or whatnot. So again, that just clips back on at that point, goes up here, and connects back to the switch on the door panel. Alright, so got the door trim back on, just verifying everything works. It does. Up and down from both door switch and master switch on the driver's side. And that's all there is to it. Hopefully it works out for you guys.